Somebody wants to be a millionaire.
Yeah.
How can they do it?
What is my current reality and where do I want to go? Then your brain knows where to take you.
How do you define charisma?
Charisma for me is a lot to do with the light that I can shine onto others.
Meditation will help us have a charisma.
Meditation is a part of it. It's one of the tools, but it's not the entire gamut. It's
Aura
completely
can be
different.
bad or good, but charisma is always good.
Aura is this envelope of energy that is around us right now. Before you and I started talking, our auras were already talking.
Try on me.
Yeah, let's do a demo on you.
How about evil eye?
Have you ever had an experience where you felt evil eye affected you? Nobody in the world can help you become a better version. You have to do it for yourself.
How do we make a vision board? Or
I can do something quick.
let me get a paper and pen. Another important thing, Sakshi, how do you say no?
We are so concerned about how we are being perceived when we say no.
Is there any truth in this? And all these work?
I do all three.
A belief everyone should stop believing.
Stop believing that.
What is more powerful, confidence or clarity?
Confidence without clarity is like noise.
Hello everyone, welcome to yet another episode of Chit Chat with Chitra, brought to you by Aloha Events. Today my guest is someone who helps people reconnect with themselves, get them off their limiting beliefs, emotional blocks, and bring out the most confident and authentic version of themselves. She is the founder of Celestial Charisma, and I'm very happy and it's my pleasure to welcome Ms. Sakshi Mathur to my show.
Thank you, Chitra. It's such an honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
Looking forward to a very interesting conversation about charisma, energy, confidence, and manifestation.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. Let's get into it.
Sakshi, when we hear the word charisma, people often think it's charm,
Yeah.
confidence, and magnetic personality.
Yes.
But you have built Celestial Charisma, thinking something bigger than that.
Correct.
So, how do you define charisma? Is it something that we are born with, or we can consciously develop it over time?
So both. You are born with it also. You can develop it over time as well. Um, so you were right. Everything you said about charisma. It is the charm. It is the personality. It is the way you show up in the world. When I developed my brand, Celestial Charisma, I wanted to have an element of celestial, which is above and beyond what we can control. Something that is from the universe. Something that is cosmic in nature. And then charisma, which is when that energy comes into us and we become this bright light, this bright shining object that starts spreading our own light into the world. That is what charisma means to me. What it means to me is when you have your own authentic light that you can maybe shine on to others and help them in their path, because life is not just about me doing well for myself, right? There is a sense of community, there is a sense of tribe. We support ourselves, we help each other, we help the whole tribe to prosper, we help the whole tribe to get better. So charisma for me is a lot to do with the light that I can shine onto others, brighten their light, and then the light that they can shine onto others, so it's a multiplier effect.
Clearly, you are also glowing here.
You're so kind. Thank you. As are you.
That is the result of having good charisma, right?
Probably.
Is there something like good charisma or bad charisma, or charisma as a whole is very good?
So charisma, there is nothing called bad charisma. I honestly think there is nothing called good and bad in this world. It's all very relative. It's all a perspective. What feels good to me may feel very bad to you, but that doesn't make me a bad person. It doesn't make you a good person either. It's perspective.
Correct.
But when it comes to charisma, it's your inner light. Is it possible that someone else might be feeling disturbed by your inner light? 100%. Could you be ruffling some feathers purely because of being in your authentic space? 100%. So, yeah, there, in a sense, you could be having a negative impact on someone. But that could be because maybe you're just making them see their truth, which they don't want to see, or you're holding up a mirror to them. And that can all be a very good positive side effect to being a charismatic person.
Nowadays, we hear that to be the most magnetic person, you have to be the most authentic version of yourself.
Yeah.
So, how can you be the most authentic version at the same time and be yourself? And not make the other person feel that you're performing, you're trying to be the authentic person and, be
Yeah.
the most vibrant person radiating energy. So how do you maintain that right balance between authenticity and being yourself?
So, Chitra, authenticity and being authentic, this has become a hashtag now. Most people probably won't understand what it means, and it's become extremely performative. Where, I've come across individuals saying, I'm a very authentic person, but then what does that even mean? Authenticity is a concept that is so deep and so wide. It's not something that you can, summarize in one word and say, how does it, like, how do you feel when you're authentic, or how can you be authentic? Authenticity comes from having such a deep understanding of self. It comes from accepting all your flaws. It comes from understanding why you have those flaws. It comes from knowing what are your limiting belief systems, what is holding you back, why do you behave in a certain way when you do, what are the impulses that come. It comes from having a full 360 understanding of yourself. When you have that understanding, you may realize that there are certain things that you don't like about yourself. So you want to drop them. There are certain things that you would like way more about yourself. Like maybe you want to be a better communicator. So you want to imbibe that. It's only when you have a true understanding of self, flaws, and everything, it's only then that you can start walking on the path of trying to be a more authentic individual. It's a process. It's not a short term, like I will do this and then I'll become authentic. It is a process, it takes time, it takes commitment.
We hear a lot about
Yeah.
meditation, wellness. There are a lot of wellness centers that claim to, make yourself the better version of
Yeah.
yourself and all. So, does that really help? Or what do you think about meditation helping you to become the best version, or making you develop a magnetic personality or charisma?
Yeah. First, I want to tell people nobody in the world can help you become a better version. You have to do it for yourself. Okay. No one else can do that for you. What do I think of meditation? If that was a question,
Yeah.
meditation is a beautiful process, and it's not attached to any religious or cultural connotation either. Meditation is a process by which you go deep within yourself to understand where your thoughts are. So it's not about silencing your mind. Most people have this misconception that if I have to meditate means I shouldn't think of anything. Like I shouldn't think of anything. I should be in a state of zen. That's not true. That's not how it starts. It starts by you having it starts by you observing your own thoughts and understanding where is your mind taking you. So if you sit quietly for a minute, what are the thoughts that will come up? Do you directly go into fear? Do you go into work mode? Do you go into some kind of a zen mode where you're imagining and you're going in a dream state? So first know where you're going. In time, you start connecting more with your physical body, where you start relaxing your body, and then we go into a mode where you'll be able to relax your mind. So meditation too is a process, and it takes a while to get there, but it's beautiful. There are actually now a lot of medical studies that are done which show that meditation has a very positive impact on the body's recovery for different kinds of illnesses. So it's a lovely practice to get into for yourself.
Meditation will help us have a charisma. That's what you're saying?
Could meditation help us in charisma? It's one of the tools that could help you. It's like saying weight loss. Will only going to the gym help me weight loss? No, I also have to watch what I eat. I also have to wake up at a certain time. I need to have a certain discipline. So in order to have the most amazing, charismatic, authentic energy, meditation is a part of it. It's one of the tools, but it's not the entire gamut.
So, what all are the other practices that we can do to have a charisma?
So, in order to have a charismatic light or authenticity as we would like to have it, there are so many things, Chitra. This answer, it can go as complex, and I could spend hours just talking about it. But if I were to just leave the audience with one thing that they could do, I would say please start accepting yourself for the way you are. That is always the first step. Truly know yourself, truly know your limits, truly know what's holding you back. Start working on your limiting belief systems and overcome that. That should be the first step towards becoming a more charismatic, authentic version of you.
We hear about aura, bad
Mm.
aura, good aura. So, is that something similar to charisma, aura and
No.
charisma?
So charisma is a more personality related trait. Aura, on the other hand, goes a little bit into the metaphysics of things. So aura is this envelope of energy that is around us right now. It's around me, it's around you. It may or may not be visible to the eye. So it's not something that we can visibly see because it's metaphysical in nature. But aura is that energy. Think of it like a protective envelope that is around us. It's that envelope or that layer of energy that is communicating with the world and giving us that interpretation of what the world is saying to me. I'll make it simplified. Before you and I started talking, our auras were already talking. They were already communicating with each other. This is why sometimes when you meet someone, you feel like, I really click with this person. I really like this person. I want to talk to this person and sit with this person. And sometimes you just see a person, they have said nothing to you, and they could be dressed in the most impeccable way possible. But you just feel like, I want to stay as far away from this individual as possible. This is not my person. I feel intimidated, or I feel unsafe, or I feel like I don't like them. This is when auras communicate with one another. The energy speaks to each other, and that's the signal that our brain picks up from the aura. Hasn't it ever happened with you, Chitra, where you were in a public place and you felt like someone staring at you and turned around and there was a creep following you? It's happened to all of us.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. So we shouldn't confuse aura and charisma. So
No, it's
aura
completely
can be
different.
bad or good, but charisma is always good.
Aura is also not bad or good. Aura is also just an aura. It's like skin. Can my skin be bad or good? No, it's my skin, right? I take care of my skin, it gets healthier. I don't take care of my skin, it will get frail, it will get, any issues. Same way, my aura is mine. It's mine to take care of. If I work on, like you said, meditative practices, if I work on cleansing rituals, which doesn't have to be very complicated, even something as simple as a salt water bath can clean my aura. So if I work, I will have a more healthier aura, which will be more protective for me. To answer your question, can someone have a bad aura? Yes, they can, if they have not worked on developing healthy practices. So if you are taking substances that you know are not good for you, if you are overindulging in certain activities that are very outrightly bad for the body or bad for the society in general, over time your aura starts getting depleted, it starts getting cracked. So, yes, it is possible to have a very unhealthy aura, which will be bad for you and bad for the other person. And Chitra, whether we are spiritual or not, or sensitive or not, we feel it. And even you would have felt it, where you
Correct, correct.
instinctively feel like there's something off with this person. I don't know what it is. That is probably an unhealthy aura that you're picking up on.
Correct. We also hear that you should limit meeting people to protect your aura. This is something that I've heard
Yeah.
recently, that you should select or be
Yeah.
choosy in being around with people. So does that really help in protecting your aura, to being around people who are also vibrating magnetic energy? What do you think about that?
Well, first, I think it's a bit it's a bit of a privilege if you get to choose who you hang out with. I don't think we have that privilege all the time, especially since we are in a working environment, and we are either in a job or we are running a business, so we always have to meet people. So I don't think we have that privilege to choose. But you do have the option of building a boundary around yourself, wherein you can define how close a person gets to you. You don't have to overshare everything with everyone. You don't always have to sit with people that you don't feel okay with. So, to your point, up to some extent, I would agree. And I would say, yes, choose the people that you build your community around. Choose the people that are in your inner circle, because it makes a difference. When someone has a healthy aura, when someone has a magnetic light within them, that light shines on you and you shine with them. But when someone has an unhealthy aura, when someone has a negative personality, they take from you, they take your light from you, and you get nothing in return. So over time you can feel depleted. So I would say it's not so much about don't meet too many people, because I don't think we have that choice. You sometimes you have to
Right.
meet. If you're going for a wedding, for example, you can't be like, no, I'm not meet people. But this is when you make your aura healthier so that it protects you, but also define a boundary so you know who's coming in and how close they are coming into you.
So that really protects our aura. So how about evil eye? Evil eye and aura.
Yeah.
So does evil eye really affect our aura? And charisma.
I want to ask you, have you ever had an experience where you felt evil eye affected you?
Sometimes we feel something is happening
Yeah.
because of evil eye,
Yeah.
but we are not sure what it
Right.
is.
Right.
If it happens and if we are feeling like that,
Yeah.
that there is some bad evil eye on us,
Yeah.
and something good is not happening in our life,
Yeah.
how do we protect ourselves or maybe like clean ourselves from that evil eye?
Yeah. Well, first, evil eye is real, but it's also a belief system. Okay. I'm not going to say that, evil eye doesn't exist in the world. No, because a large number of people experience it. You and I have experienced it at different points in our life. But evil eye, guys, is also a belief system. I have to say it clearly here. If you believe that you are susceptible to evil eye, you will attract it. If you believe that no, my aura is strong enough, and even if someone is looking at me in a negative way, I will be able to deflect it because my belief in my God is strong. My belief in my universe is strong. My belief in my cosmic energy is strong, right? There's always an energy that is higher than us, irrespective of whatever culture or religion we come from. We all believe there is someone higher than us, correct? Are you telling me that evil eye is bigger than the God that is higher than us?
No,
No,
no
it's
way.
not. It's not. So if you have your connection established in the right way, if you have your own pure belief that nothing negative can touch me, then an evil eye will not touch you. But having said that, evil eye does happen from a place of jealousy. That's a common belief. But it could also happen because you have unknowingly or unintentionally activated something negative in another person. We all have a good side and a negative side. Nobody is pure positive in this world, right? I also have a dark side. You also have a dark side.
Absolutely.
We may unknowingly activate the dark side in another person, maybe by something we did. Maybe it was a new car, maybe it was the clothes that we wear. It's not always deliberate. Sometimes it's a very accidental process. I would just say a good practice to do, and this comes from a principle called Ho'oponopono, which says, I forgive you, I ask your forgiveness, I thank you, and I love you. And if at the end of the day you just say these 4 lines, thinking about everyone that you have interacted with in a day, you really return the energy back to them. So if I have mistakenly taken any of your energy, good, bad, or ugly, with a lot of love and respect, I send that energy back to you. And I take all my energy back from you so that I am covered and complete again. This would be a wonderful way to protect yourself, not just from evil eye, from absolutely anything.
I have heard that you should not reveal your savings, your income,
Yeah.
your investment plans, or
Yeah.
whatever you're going to do good in future
Hmm.
with the people you know.
Hmm.
So, is there any genuine truth behind all these conceptions in the society?
Look, when it comes to finances and investments and revealing your plans, I think this should be a part of drawing a healthy boundary. Until it hasn't happened, until it's not in motion, even I recommend not sharing it with anyone, not because you will activate jealousy in them or not because they think negatively for you, but it's just because you don't know what is their perception of it. So I could tell you, like, Chitra, I'm about to buy a house, for example. Now I don't know what state you are in. I don't know if your deal just went flop. I don't know if you're in a bad space in life. I don't know if you're genuinely so happy that you'll be good for me. I have no idea what's going on within you. And this is when I said sometimes you accidentally activate a dark quadrant in someone. You don't want to do that. Not because I'm scared you will do something wrong to me, but because I don't want you to get into a space which has nothing to do with you. I don't want you to get into a mind space because of something that I have said. Having said that, I think as a rule of thumb, and this is even a safety and security principle, a very material security principle, I don't think you should be revealing your finances to people. I really don't think you should be revealing your investment plans. You never know how word travels. So I personally don't do that. I recommend people not to do it either. I think you should be very careful with what information you share in front of whom, because intention makes a big difference. So this all now boils down to what is the intention of the next person towards me, and also what was my intention in revealing it. Maybe I had an amazing intention when I revealed something to you, but maybe you were not in a healthy space to understand my intention. Maybe you misunderstood what I said.
I think if you have a good aura and good charisma, you will be able to deflect it
You
from
should
what you have
absolutely
said. Yeah.
100% right, Chitra. You should be able to deflect it as long as you carry this belief system that nothing negative can touch me because I have a higher purpose and I believe in a higher God.
Absolutely. People do a lot of things actually to get rid of the bad aura or negative
Mm.
energy. There's a lot of discussion. It's an altogether a very different topic and wide topic. I think we'll do it
We need
one day.
another podcast for
Podcast
that.
for that, yeah. If I walk into a room and I see someone who is communicating well, definitely there is a kind of attraction to that person, right? So, how does a good communicator, really influence another person? If a person is communicating really well, does that mean that person is actually charismatic?
I wouldn't just call them charismatic. I think I will go into the topic of leadership here. And I think in order to practice strong leadership, you have to be a good communicator. And that's why you feel attracted to people, not in that way, but you feel a natural gravitation and pull to
Correct.
people who are good communicators because our mentality is a tribe mentality as human beings. If anyone has read the book called Homo sapiens, the book really talks about how the human mentality has developed ever since the Neanderthal and Homo sapien phase, where we operate in groups, we operate in tribes, and that's how we survived. So even today, we operate in a society. And as an instinct, we look for a leader that is strong. Either we are looking for a leader who's strong, or we choose to take the position of the leader who can be leading the group. Okay? Communication is everything when it comes to leadership. That's why we gravitate towards people who are good communicators because we feel they have clarity. And with that clarity of thought and with those strong communications, they can be good leaders. So they may be able to show me the right path. And hence, I feel like following them.
So actually, I would like to bring a real life situation into the conversation.
Yeah.
We often see people who think that they are not ready for something. They feel they're capable of doing more, but whenever a big opportunity comes, they feel they're not yet ready. Let them be more confident. I'll be more perfect, and then I'll do it. So, how do we replace a person with such a belief system with a belief that they are capable of doing it? How do you do that?
So, first, I want to say, Chitra, we will never be 100% capable of doing anything. Okay. We will always want to push ourselves to know more. There is never now I have reached the pinnacle and I can do it. That will never happen. If we keep holding ourselves back, then you're very right. This becomes a limiting belief system. Okay, first I will learn this skill, then I will do it. No, now I have to learn that skill, then I will do it. Now I need to invest in this equipment, then I will do it. It never is never enough. And you will never reach the finish line at this point. I would say focus more on an opportunity. If an opportunity has come your way, that means there is a reason the cosmos has put that opportunity in front of you. It's important to grab it and run with it. You will learn on the way. And when you learn, you will develop yourself higher and you will be in a better position to offer a higher value the next time if the similar opportunity comes your way. But if you don't take that opportunity, then that becomes a missed opportunity. You will never learn, you will never grow from it. Maybe you think that I need to develop skill A, B, and C. Perhaps you don't. Maybe once you start developing it, you think I already know this. I actually need to do X, Y, and Z. So this becomes a missed opportunity to learn more about yourself. So my advice to anyone who thinks I'm very good at doing it, but I'm not ready yet, you will never be ready. And time doesn't wait for anyone, right? We've heard that saying, time and tide wait for no man. So if something is in your way, please jump. Take the leap of faith and just do it. Like, what's the worst that will happen?
Just
You
grab
will,
it.
yeah, just grab it. Exactly. Just grab it.
Opportunities don't come all the time.
No, they don't. And if they do, you gotta grab it.
Can you do something live for the audience? Any belief system replacement that you can, just
Yeah, why
try
not?
try on me?
Yeah, let's do a demo on you. Belief
Yeah.
system replacement?
Yeah, let's
Okay.
try.
If you're okay with it, I'll be happy to do it
I'm
for you.
absolutely fine with
Okay,
it. Yeah.
lovely. Let's do this. And for the people who are listening, if you feel like doing it, just grab like a pen and paper. So maybe you can just do exactly what I'm going to do with Chitra right now.
Let's see.
So, Chitra, let's work with an area of life or one particular belief that you have, or something that you feel like this keeps holding me back. Like, I want to do this, but I keep holding myself back. Or it could even be something like this area of my life is just not working out for me. Is there something like that? So we can go very specific
Okay, you want me to tell what is that
if it's
actually?
okay with you.
Maybe multitasking, a lot of
Multitasking.
things. Yeah.
Okay. So you feel you're not good at multitasking, or what is
Not
it?
very good. I do, but I'm not very good at. Usually, women are good at multitasking,
Yeah.
but I don't consider myself a good multitasker. So,
Okay. You know why they say women are good at multitasking? Just getting a little detour into this story. Women have something called peripheral vision, and men have something called tunnel vision. Okay, which is why men are very focused. So it's easier for men to focus on one particular task. But because women have peripheral vision, like right now, you and I, we can see everything that's going on around us. And this is why women become very good multitaskers, because they can see everything and we can do everything all at the same time. Also, biologically, evolution wise, women were men would go out for hunting. I'm talking like Neanderthal Homo sapien stages, yeah. Women would be taking care of the kids at home, and women would be supporting and providing a protection for the tribe that they had at home, and they would be I don't know, picking berries, or healing the ones who were wounded. So they had a lot of tasks that they were doing, at the same time keeping an eye out on an animal that may not come and attack them. So women are also hunters, women are also very strong warriors at the same time, while men had one single-minded proposition, which was to hunt, find food, hunt, and bring it back, which is also extremely hard, by the way, because they also had to be very strong warriors. They also had to anticipate the threat. So multitasking has got a lot to do with threat anticipation. It's got a lot to do with time management, and it's got a lot to do with having a peripheral vision to do it. So, biologically speaking, just know that, Chitra, you already have that. You already are blessed with it. So, now we know for a fact that this is a mental construct. So, the fact that you feel like I'm not good at multitasking means it's coming from a place which is of a limiting belief. Let me ask you one question. When did you develop this? Did someone say that to you, that you're not good at doing too many things at one time? Or did you feel like when people were giving you way too many instructions at the same time, you were feeling overwhelmed? When did this start?
actually, both.
Okay.
Someone has told me,
Someone
and
has
I
told you.
myself felt also that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I felt that person is making sense. That person is telling the truth.
Okay.
Yeah, I am not so good, which usually women are. So,
Right. So a lot of times, and I've got to say that, limiting belief systems are created because someone has said something to us. And we have heard it, we have accepted it, and we made that a gospel truth in our system. Okay. I am not going to ask you who that person was. This is not about attacking the person who said you at all, because I'm sure they had their reasons to say it, right? In life, context is everything. It's not so much of a content. So, I am not good at multitasking as most women are. That is your statement. That has become the content of your life. But what we need to work on is the context of the life, the context with why you created that belief system. And it seems like, Chitra, it's coming from someone who had said this to you. And it feels like also this might be coming from a place of overwhelm. I don't think multitasking is a problem with you. I think the problem is the overwhelm that you feel when it's too many tasks coming at the same time. Am I right about that?
right.
So this is an overwhelm issue. This is not about how do I multitask like other women. This is about how can I not feel overwhelmed when I have too many things happening at the same time. Would it make you feel better if you were able to manage your emotions or manage your feelings while doing more than two tasks at a time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now we need to go into what is the emotion that you feel. Like, I know we've established overwhelm, but what is the emotional reaction that's going on within you when too many things are happening at the same time?
I want to do everything perfectly at the same time.
Okay.
So I don't want to lag behind in
Yeah.
the quality of what I have to do.
Right.
So when I try to multitask, what happens is I'm losing it, and
Yeah.
eventually I feel guilty also.
Okay.
Why didn't I do it perfectly?
Right. So I'm hearing perfectionism is a problem here.
Yeah.
So there is a saying which says done is better than perfect. And I really love that saying. And I imbibe that in my own work. Sometimes you just need to get things done. And even if it's not done perfectly, it's fine. There is always a margin of error in things, right? Um, Even NASA has a margin of error in their things, by
Correct.
the way. No one can do things perfectly. As long as you have a predefined margin of error which says, I will try to do it at least 80% well, and it's okay if it's not 100%. The problem that I'm sensing from everything you're saying, Chitra, is that you have a very high demand from yourself. Do you realize that?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So your problem is a demand of self. that Chitra is not allowed to do things which are not perfect, and that becomes a problem then. So your issue is not that I'm not good at multitasking. Your issue is, how do I do everything with perfection, because that's what I demand from self. I think you need to let go of this demand from self. Give yourself, cut yourself some slack, I would say. Make it a preference. Like, I prefer to do this 80% right, giving a margin of error. I prefer that I do it by 80%, and even if it's not, it's okay. Because when it comes to demand and preference, demand will set you up for failure, but preference gives you options.
Correct.
So even if I don't do it 100, can I do it 80? If I don't have time to do 80, can I do it 60 and then pass it on to someone else to take it to another 80%? Right?
Right.
So this now becomes about managing the perfectionism and flowing it into, how can I get this task done to a certain percentage that's acceptable to me? Because this is all about you. Nobody's expecting perfectionism from you, Chitra. You're expecting it from yourself.
So we feel that everybody is expecting perfectionism,
Correct.
but
Correct.
absolutely it's just us. We are expecting it out
100%.
of us.
100%. No one
We
expects
think
that.
everybody is having lenses on us, but everybody is busy in their own lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. People are very busy in their life. People are very focused on their own flaws.
Correct.
So even now, like as I sit in front of you, I know I'm only thinking of my flaws. Is my body language okay? Am I saying the right things? And I know you're thinking of the same thing.
Yeah.
We're not focused on each other. We're not focused on the lenses, you know?
You're right. Another important thing, Sakshi, how do you say no to people without feeling guilty?
Hmm.
How do you set boundaries without being more distant or getting disconnected from an environment? How can you say no when you feel that that environment or that commitment is demanding more than it should?
Yeah. This is such a good question, and it's so relevant to most people. You know, saying no is the biggest boundary that you create for yourself, right? And it's so interesting that you brought up guilt in this story and you brought up disconnection, because this is what most people feel. We don't want another person to feel bad. We are so concerned about how we are being perceived when we say no, that we forget that the reason we are saying no is because this is getting exhausting for us. And this stems from people pleasing, whether we like it or not. We all have a tendency of people pleasing within us. Some, it's a very high intensity, some, it's a relatively low intensity. But I think people pleasing is a scale, and we all fall somewhere in it. In order to draw a boundary, in order to say no and release guilt, I think you've got to bring focus back on yourself and remind yourself, what was the core reason of why I wanted to say no? And that is what is most important right now. We got to kind of bring our scale of people pleasing low here. And this can only be tackled if you tackle people pleasing. So, as long as you have this need for validation and seeking approval of others, and if you feel like your entire existence is based on a validation that someone else provides to you, you will always struggle with saying no and drawing that boundary, because you'll always have the fear of
Yeah.
disappointing someone else and then being disconnected from the community.
Often I think a lot after saying no to somebody or
Hmm.
something. I sit back and think, okay, did I hurt them, or what will they think of me? Will they behave the same with me
Yeah.
even after this no? How is the equation of relationship going to be? How can we overcome that overthinking after we say that big no to
Yeah.
something that's demanding more than it should?
Yeah. So, first, I want to compliment you and say it's highly intelligent people who overthink. So, if you are overthinking, you're falling into the bracket of someone who's very intellectually conscious and who's also tapping into the sensitivities of other people. So, it's not necessarily a bad thing, Chitra, that if we, after saying no to someone or after drawing our boundary, we sit back and we are reconsidering how this is being perceived. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It shows we are sensitive, it shows we are connected at some level, right? But what do we do about it? I would say, again, remind yourself, what was my core reason of saying no? If this is a boundary that I have created, I have to uphold my boundary first. I can't expect a Chitra to uphold a boundary of Sakshi. Sakshi has to uphold her own boundary, right? If I don't uphold my boundary, I will always have this problem where people will keep expecting things from me in a way that might be either disrespectful, or it might be crowding me too much or making me uncomfortable. So I am choosing to create a safe space for myself. This is about a safe space. I need to feel okay in doing a task. I need to feel okay in not doing a task. I have to be okay with both. But if you are feeling guilt, so the best way to handle guilt is to understand either you do it or you don't do it. But then don't feel guilty about it, right? Guilt is one of the most useless emotions because it gives us nothing. Anger gives us something, it makes us realize a few things. Fear gives us something, it makes us create a plan B. But guilt does nothing for us. You just sit and marinate in that feeling,
Correct.
and
Yeah.
it's not doing anything. So, if you are a high performer, one of the first things you need to do is completely eliminate guilt as an emotion from your life and rather tap into what's important for me and also how can I show up much better for someone else, which can only happen if I have a strong boundary.
Absolutely. And also, rightly, as you said, most of the high performers that we see are very strong. They have very strong
100%.
personality.
Yeah.
We see them say yes or no,
Yeah.
cut it right,
Yeah.
just say it on the face. They have such strong personalities, actually. And about them, we often think that they have achieved so much. High performers, they've done a lot in their life, and we all aspire to be like them. But something that goes behind them, which is often unnoticed, is the exhaustion.
Mm-hmm.
They often do a lot. In terms of work or in terms of life, they do a lot, and it's often taken for granted. Even they don't realize that they're doing too much in their life.
Yeah.
How do they realize, or how one feels that even if they're ambitious, that their body and mind is giving them some signal to
Yeah.
slow down,
Yeah.
to please slow down,
Yeah.
it's time.
Yeah.
So how can they get the signal, or how can they
Yeah.
manage the ambitious goal and the signals that their body is giving?
Yeah, this is an excellent question. So, Chitra, when your body is sending you a signal and you're ignoring it, no, that is 100% psychology and belief system issue. 100%. If my body is telling me my shoulders hurting and I'm still choosing to carry weight, then this is a mindset problem, right? Or a mindset challenge rather. When it comes to high performers, and I believe you are a high performer as well.
Thank you so much for the compliment.
High performers push themselves. They push themselves to no limits because they have a goal that they wish to achieve to, and nothing can come in between them and their goal. And I love that about high performers, right? Now, there are two things why you would ignore body signs that say please slow down. There are only two reasons why you would ignore body signs which say please slow down. Number one, like I said in the previous question, either they have a high demand from themselves where no one is demanding it from them. Like people will be okay if they slow down, but they can't allow themselves to do it because they believe I demand perfection from me. I demand 100% from me. The second reason could also be an external validation that they seek, wherein they believe that their entire existence is based on the achievements that they do. Like Sakshi is not Sakshi unless she achieves something. Unless I don't hold an award in my hand, nobody will recognize me. So, recognition, achievements, these become the center point of their existence, which is again another reason why they are not able to pick up on body cues because they feel, but I am not validated enough yet. Till I don't have this award, I won't feel validated. Till I don't receive that promotion, I don't feel validated. Till 10 people don't look at me and say, wow, you have done well. Till 10 people don't look at me and say, wow, you have done well, I will not have that recognition, so I can't stop. So it's either a demand from self or it's extreme validation needed from the external environment. These are both belief system and mindset issues. The faster they work on it, the easier it will be on their body.
Absolutely. So it's about getting rid of the external validation and being the most perfect version of yourself.
Not perfect,
Yeah.
being the most evolved
Evolved
version of
version. Yeah,
yourself.
yeah. I mean, to say by being the perfect version of
Yeah.
yourself, you can be the perfect version of yourself, but
In your
necessarily,
eyes.
yeah, in
Yeah.
your eyes,
Yeah.
that's more important.
Yeah.
Yeah, let the world not think that you're imperfect, but that doesn't matter. Yeah.
Correct.
Unless and until you think you're perfect.
Absolutely.
In the
Perfect in your
flaws.
imperfections.
Imperfections, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Sakshi, I want to definitely ask you about manifestation, vision board, affirmations, because
Yeah.
right now the social media is taken over by these reels and
Yeah.
content
Yeah.
that you have to wake up in the morning and you have to make these affirmations, you have to write down these manifestations, you
Yeah.
must have a vision board right at the place when you wake up and all.
Yeah.
Is there any truth in this and all these work actually?
Okay, short answer, yes.
Wow.
Long answer, I do all three. I do affirmations. I have manifested a lot of things in my reality, which I have right now. I host manifestation workshops as well. Vision board is something I absolutely love because I'm a very visual person. So I love waking up in the morning and, I have my vision board stuck in my cupboard. So when I open it, I look at the vision board, it reminds me of all the goals that I want to achieve. Let's understand the science of why it works. Especially affirmations and vision board, they activate neuropaths in your brain. So when you are affirming, let's just say one affirmation, which is I am loved. Okay, let's just go with the simplest affirmation: I am loved. When you look in the mirror and you say that affirmation, your nervous system hears it, and neuropaths get formed in your brain which confirm this belief that I am loved. It's the same, it's actually a very reverse of what we did when I was working with you on your belief system. Sometimes someone says something negative to us, we believe it immediately and we hear it. It's the same with affirmations. You say something positive to yourself every single day, your brain picks up on it by repetition, it creates neuropaths, then start aligning things within your body and mind in a way that makes you believe that yes, I am loved. you know um, there is a very beautiful saying which says attention goes where awareness flows. So if I flow my awareness in a positive mindset, my attention goes to the positive things. So people who say I'm very lucky, lucky and fortunate things keep happening to them. And then there are people who say I don't have luck in my life. I'm a very unlucky person. And unfortunate things keep happening with them because attention goes where awareness flows. So affirmation has got a lot to do with activating that within you. Same with vision board. So some people are more visual. I am a very visual person. And I have like this wild imagination. So I love putting visuals on paper of what I want to achieve in terms of goals. So it's a visual reminder to me. So it's the same theory. When I see it every day, my brain believes it. Fun fact, your mind cannot differentiate between fact and fiction. It cannot differentiate it. So
Oh,
if I see, which is why when you watch movies, you feel the love. When
yeah,
you're watching horror movies, your body is having a very physical reaction. You're having
correct,
goosebumps, you scream,
correct.
because your mind can't differentiate between fact and fiction, right? So when I see this storyboard with these, vision board, when I see this vision board with these visuals on it of various things that I wish to achieve, my mind believes that I have it, and when I have it, I work in that manner. That is manifestation. Manifestation is an act or a process of bringing into reality something which was only a conceptualized theory. So, something that was just a concept in my mind, I bring that into a real physical reality. I always wanted to do a podcast. Now I'm here doing a podcast with you. This is a manifestation of a concept, right? So I hope this helps you understand how affirmations, vision boards work towards building a better manifestation.
Absolutely. Also, for our viewers who are watching, if somebody wants to be a millionaire,
Yeah.
how can they do it with vision board manifestation?
Okay. This
Can
is
you give
a
a short roadmap to become a millionaire for all those who are watching the podcast?
okay. You don't just become a millionaire by manifesting and affirming. That is one part of the process,
Most important part.
the most important part. But more than that, your actions. Guys, actions speak louder than words. If you want to be a millionaire, get off your ass. Sorry, just get up and start working towards it, right? Affirmations can only get you so far. After a point, Chitra, it's the hard work that we put in. It's the actual physical labor that we do into something. It's the clarity of thought and mind that will get us there, right? Otherwise, everyone would become a millionaire, right?
Right.
So, if it was as simple as I write $1 million on a check and I stick it on my wall, everyone would become a millionaire, but it doesn't end there, guys. It starts from believing that yes, I have the capability and capacity to become a millionaire, but then what am I willing to do for it? How hard am I going to work? What am I willing to sacrifice to get there? Right? It's not easy, the journey of being a millionaire. There was a very interesting book, or was it a song? I can't remember. The first million is always the hardest. Once you cross the first million, then it's a process that you've already achieved. But yeah, a lot of hard work, perseverance, keep showing up, repetition, and don't stop till you become a millionaire. Don't give up.
Rightly said. Can we do something? Can we show our audience like how do we do? How do we make a vision board, or how do we work on manifestation? Can we do something for them?
I can do something quick,
Yeah,
but
sure.
a whole vision boarding would be an entire workshop. But what I can do is I can do something very quick, which will be like a precursor to a vision board. So it might not be the entire vision board. So I would invite you to pause the video, maybe go get a piece of paper or a book and a pen or a pencil. Okay. Now, when you have that piece of paper, divide it into left side and the right side. The left side is your current reality of where you are. The right side is the future vision of where you wish to be. So let's do this as a demo with you, Chitra. Again, give
Yeah.
me a life event that you wish to manifest for yourself.
Yeah. Should I reveal it here also?
If you want to, if you don't want to, give me a rough example.
As you said, I don't believe in revealing before it happens.
Very good.
Okay, so I also need a pause. Let me get a paper and pen.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you flip the page into left hand. Yeah, exactly. Draw
I
a
can
line.
just draw a line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So on the left side of your page, it is my current reality. So you can write it down.
Yeah.
And on the right side is my future vision. So this becomes a way where we activate both hemispheres of our brain. So we have a left hemisphere, which is rational and logical, and then we have the right hemisphere, which is imaginative, and that is where the manifestations happen. So on your left side, I just want you to pick one area. Don't make it too specific if you don't want to reveal something that you wish to change about your life. Could be health, could be where you live, could be how big you want this company to go.
Yeah.
Yeah? Picked?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to tell us what it is?
Yeah. Actually, I want to work on myself in terms of health and exercise, or maybe
Okay.
workout.
Health, exercise, workout. Perfect. Let's
Yeah.
keep it to that. What I want you to do on the left side of the page now is currently where you are in terms of your health and exercise. And I want you to write the truth. So if it is 11 p.m. McDonald's burger, I want you to write that that's what you're doing. If it's overworked and no time for walks, I want you to write that. Okay. Or if it is 3 times gym, whatever it is, that is your reality at the moment. Be truthful to yourself and write it exactly how it is.
I just have one line to write. That's
Okay.
fine.
That's fine.
Can I say that?
Of course,
Just feeling lazy to do.
feeling lazy to do anything. Yeah. That is the current reality, which is feeling lazy to do anything. Now, on the right side of the page, I'd like you to write down everything that you wish to do. If you were not lazy, what is it that you would have been doing? So, in the case of the viewers on the right side, I would like you to write down everything that you wish to tap into your future self. So, if these current challenges were not a consequence, what would you be tapping into to bring into your future self?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. What did you write on your right side?
I wrote daily gym,
Daily gym.
daily dance class, daily music class, martial arts training,
Yeah.
learning more technology.
Fantastic. That will go on your vision board. You're going to get a picture of gym and you're going to write there daily. You're going to get a picture of dance classes, or if you have a picture of you dancing, even better. So put a picture of you dancing and put the frequency there, like daily or weekly or whatever it is, which is the other thing you said?
Music class.
Music class. So then again, have a picture of people sitting around a piano, or you singing, or you holding a guitar, something that makes you feel something. So when you look at it, your brain gets activated every day. Technology. So again, I don't know, put Claude and ChatGPT logos there.
More research.
More research. So put it, yeah, more research. So have a reminder there. Could even be an affirmation. Today I will research into something that I didn't know yesterday. So that becomes a good mix of affirmations and vision boards. So this is a good first step to understanding what should go on my vision board, because of most people's vision boards I've seen, they randomly stick pictures from magazines and newspapers. And that was also the mistake which I made with my first vision board when I was in my early 20s. I was just randomly cutting pictures and sticking there, but they meant nothing to me. So when you do a process like this, which is what is my current reality and where do I want to go, then your brain knows where to take you. So these are not random pictures you're cutting, these are relevant to you.
All right.
I want you to create that and send it to me. I want to see that vision board.
She's going to keep an eye on me, I think. So that was like a wonderful, revelation or something that's like a transformation, right?
Yeah, it's
Thinking
beautiful.
of what you're currently and what you want to do. It's
100%.
also like self-reflection, I feel. Yeah.
100%.
Otherwise, you're not going to think what you're going to
You
do.
won't. And
Yeah.
this is when clarity comes into play. I can't go anywhere without clarity. So even in my vision boards, I need to have that clarity. So this gives you that clarity.
Correct, correct. Actually, I feel a lot of my clarity, a lot of not only mine, many people's clarity is getting lost because of the time that we spend on screens.
Scrolling, doom
Yeah,
scrolling.
insane time that
Yeah.
reading has been replaced with
Oh my
scrolling.
God,
Yeah.
100%.
I think decluttering your mind by avoiding the screens also will help to be more
At least limit it.
limited.
We can't fight the algorithm,
Yeah.
guys. In fact, even this video, someone would have come across it because they were scrolling, probably, right? So we can't avoid the algorithm entirely. We can't put in rules which says don't do it. But I think at least limit yourself to maybe, okay, I'm going to allow myself 30 minutes of doom scrolling, but then I'll get back to my other task.
That's very difficult.
Put an
Because
alarm.
You might not even know when 30 minutes
You don't
have
know.
crossed.
It's a wormhole. Once you're
Yeah.
in it, like you never
It'll
know.
go for us.
Yeah.
But there's a good part also that we get to learn, we get to hear about a lot of new things that are happening in the world.
Absolutely.
But we have to use it in the right way. as you said.
100%,
Yeah.
100%. And that onus is on us.
Yes.
So we could watch something uplifting and positive, or we could get stuck in a very dark loop of doom scrolling. So that onus is really on us.
Absolutely. We are the master of our life. We should take
Love
the
that.
ownership
We are
of
the
that.
masters of our life. Love the way you said it.
Now we will have some rapid fire questions.
Nice.
So let's see. One word that describes charisma.
Authenticity.
Beautiful. Meditation or movement? Which do you choose to reset your energy?
I actually choose both. I start with movement and then I go into meditation.
A belief everyone should stop believing.
I'm not good enough. Stop believing that. You're perfect the way you are.
One boundary everyone should learn to set.
It's okay to say no.
That requires a lot of courage. A morning habit that instantly changes your energy.
There are two. One is affirmations in the mirror, and second is music.
Affirmations or action, if you have to choose one.
As much as I spoke about affirmations in today's podcast, but if I have to choose only one, I will always choose action because action brings things into reality.
What is more powerful, confidence or clarity?
Clarity, always. Confidence without clarity is like noise. But if you have clarity, confidence immediately builds up.
What is the one thing you would tell someone who is waiting to feel ready before they start?
You're already ready to start.
Just start. I love that. Just start.
Yeah.
And there we come to an end of this podcast.
I had so much
And
fun, Chitra. Thank you.
That was like a truly healing session.
Oh, I'm glad to feel that way. Thank you.
Definitely it's very deep diving. We can sit and talk on and on for a long time. I
100%.
think we should have at least one every 2 months or something.
I would
about
love
different
that.
topics.
100%. I would
Because
love
it's
that.
a very vast topic. We will not be able to cover it in such a short time.
Definitely. And like you said, it has a lot of depth, so we can go very deep into talking about these things.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sakshi, for coming and really looking forward to a wonderful conversation with you.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Chitra. It's my honor to be here today.